Hello everyone, this video is just gonna be me sitting at a menu. Yeah, because I have a rant. And my rant comes in the form of my extreme distaste for the trailer for Borderlands. I really loved Borderlands 2. I thought it was a fantastic, great, wonderful IP. It's fun. It's satirical. It's sometimes annoying. Um, it was one of the best looter shooters I randomly discovered towards the end of the PS3's life cycle, as the PS4 had already been out, and on top of that, I had already been playing it for years. But it was just one of those, last things to close it out. They gave it away for free, and I loved it. I remember that it was cohesive and all of that. So it's really interesting to see the dichotomy of that character. But I enjoyed all of them. I liked what Axton brought to the table. I like what freaking the Necromancer was like. Lots of great characters. And very good writing. It was funny. It was entertaining. Like, one of the best quests in that game is Face McShooty. You find this guy, he's screaming on the side of a cliff, and he's saying, shoot me in the face, not in the body, not in the elbow, in the face. Come on, you know you want to do it. And he's egging you on, and you shoot him in the face. Like, that's the quest. It's so hilarious. Like, something like that I feel is really good writing, right? Like, something that, just in general, that whole game, very well written. Another good example, the very first Last of Us. And I shouldn't have to say very first, because it should have been the only product we got, and that was it. It was fine how it was. It didn't need a sequel. It didn't need a TV show adaptation. It was fine. And if you want to know what my general thoughts on that are, watch Adam Sessler's review for it, because it is the most succinct and well put together and well thought out and critically researched essays on a piece of media I've ever seen. And it's definitely worth watching. And I'm like so sad that he's become a complete crackpot at this point, because back when that review came out, that was the review for Last of Us. You didn't need anybody else. You didn't need industry hacks and shills like Angry Joe coming in and saying anything at all. Now, my main issue is that I see a product that is really good, and then that product has really just fallen off the deep end when they make a movie about it and then they cast either The Rock or Kevin Hart. That's when you know, we are still in the Jumanji era, where every movie has to look exactly like Jumanji. They even use the same music, like the almost southern rock and roll with explosions in frames there shouldn't be explosions in, and stupid lens flares, and everybody is cast wrong. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that my issue necessarily with that trailer in particular has anything to do with, Kevin Hart playing Roland. That's not my problem. My problem is casting Kevin Hart. I think he's a talentless hack. Have never found him funny, and he's a comedian. He's not an actor, and he's just getting roles anyway. And I don't think I've really ever enjoyed a single one of his performances. It doesn't feel like he's a genuine actor. It feels like he's playing himself, playing the character. And I just get that general sense with people like Ryan Reynolds, Kevin Hart, and The Rock. Like, those are the three egregiousest examples. And I know that's not a word. I said it for emphasis. Yeah, just in general, and on top of that, they're still doing Moana. Like, I never even saw the first movie. I don't care about this character. I don't care about that franchise. I literally, when I saw the trailer for Moana, I was like, yeah, I'm bored. Like, I don't have any interest to see this. And the reason why I didn't have any interest to see it is because like it wasn't something that I really care about. I mean, I've already seen this movie decades ago, only everyone's a penguin. So I don't need to see, a Surf's Up movie again. Like, that's what it is. And, it doesn't appeal to me specifically as an audience member. It has its own audience, and I understand who that audience is, and I'm not in that audience. So I don't need to like that movie. I don't need to go see it because I'm not the targeted audience for it. And I understand. It makes sense. They're making these movies for kids, but the game isn't for kids. It's rated M, guys. It's for adults. So why are we childifying it? And the main problem I have with it is everybody's casting. I don't have a problem with, Kevin or Roland in the basis of like diversity, ethnicity. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying that there's much better actors out there that you could have chosen from, like Idris Elba. I personally think that Idris Elba would have been the best choice for Roland. I mean, come on, he's stoic. He's plays a lot of roles that are similar to that. He's the obvious go-to pick for the role of Roland, and it should have definitely been him. But there's plenty of other people who could also do a good job. But I personally would see Idris Elba in that role. Then let's go on to Lilith. She looks like a 60-year-old, and I don't remember her being that old while she was running around with the Vault Hunters from 2, or Tiny Tina when she was a kid. She's definitely not that old. They definitely completely dropped the ball on that casting, and not only that, she doesn't even look or sound anything like Lilith. Lilith is way younger, like in her like mid-20s to early 30s at best. This chick looks like she's just about to hit 60. Like she's in good shape for a 60-year-old, but she's looking like she's just about to hit 60. And then let's go on to Claptrap, the biggest, most egregious example. He's supposed to be annoying. He's supposed to be high-pitched. I don't think anyone deserves to be the voice of Claptrap besides the guy they originally got to do it in 2. And as far as I know, I never heard anything controversial about that actor at all. So I don't know why they wouldn't just recast the original guy who played Claptrap. Makes sense to me. I don't know why it wouldn't make sense to executives. And then, let's see, who else? Krieg doesn't talk at all, and they just got some random bodybuilder who has black hair to play him. And he doesn't even say anything at all in the trailer. And he's one of the most outspoken members. He talks all the fucking time about stripping the flesh. And he's a freaking psycho. That's what he does. That's his character. He's not the good guy, but he always has something funny to say. Like for example, I'm the conductor of the poop train. He's just off the walls crazy, and the fact that he didn't say a single line in the trailer leads me to believe that he didn't say a single line in the actual movie. But the trailer is more indicative of other issues. Those issues being what makes a trailer bad. And I have like a good list of what I think makes a trailer genuinely bad. You've got the really poppy text that explains something, or really spoilery about the movie, or it actually misleads you completely. Then you have like the cuts to silence from like really like bassy sounding, like what do I want to call it? Hans Zimmer type sounds, right? That kind of audio mixing, that really dark ambient kind of sounds, like, oh, everything has to be intense, that kind of thing. And then it'll go from like loud noise and obnoxious amounts of explosions and craziness to cuts to silence. And then they'll do that like a bunch of freaking times, even in scenes that they're taking from the final project, and they're putting it in there and it's not even intense at all, and they're still doing the intense craziness because the whole trailer has to sound the same all the way through from start to finish, even if it doesn't make sense to have it happen that way. You see lens flares, you see continuity issues, you see in general, executives making poor decisions.
Your sister's trying to call you.
Anyway, as I was gonna say, usually if you look at a specific trailer like the ones I'm going to list, you'll see these kinds of horrendous decisions. So, for example, we have let's try the trailer for Hitman, right? the the more recent one where he's walking out in the middle of the street gunning down a bunch of people. That's not Hitman. Hitman is a character you never see, who's never heard, who gets in, gets the target, and gets out without killing anybody else, and he is the silent assassin, right? So why do they have this guy out in the middle of the street gunning down random dudes? That is not what Hitman does. That is a blatant misunderstanding of the IP. Let's try something else. Let's try the second Wreck-It Ralph movie. You watch that trailer after seeing the first movie, and you're just like, what are they doing? Or you could go with Old, or Knock at the Cabin, as good examples of how to edit a very terrible trailer. And I really just, in general, think that trailers need to stop. Like, we just don't need them. You can do a promo with the title and the coming to theaters at this time all you want. But the second you make any sort of edited trailer is the second you have messed up, because all the time you get misleading trailers, or you get trailers that just spoil the movie and make it so that you don't really need to go see it, because all the impactful scenes that everybody would remember and say are great scenes are in the trailer. So yeah, in general, trailers are bad and are not well put together. I could much more and much I could do a much better job of making an entire video essay specifically on trailers. But I also wanted to comment on things that the industry is doing constantly these days, especially with Hollywood, and that I'm tired of. First things first, casting that doesn't fit the character. Like I said, Lilith is too fucking old in that trailer. Absolutely just the worst casting they could have had. I would have preferred, I don't know, anyone could do it. Anyone could do it better than whoever they picked. Give me some time and I'll fan cast it for you if you're really desperate for an answer of who could be a better one. But I'm not going to think about that right now because there's lots to discuss. The next part, I don't like when the producers of a project are casting for diversity for the sake of doing it, just to do it, you know? We're just doing it, right? We're not going to think about it. There's no real thing that it adds to the artistic integrity of the project. We're just going to cast any old person for any old thing because we feel like it, and that's what it is. They don't even have to be anywhere close to the character, and they can even be not great at acting, and we're still going to make them the lead for the role, even though they are a clear mismatch and a total not good pick. And we're going to just do that because we have to fill the quota, right? We have to fulfill our diversity check because as a corporation, we need to make people feel like we actually care about them rather than just doing what everybody knows corporations do, which is make all their decisions based off of profit and none of their decisions based off of class. Now, that's not necessarily the case always, right? Nick Fury was a great like ethno cast. Like that was a good idea. He actually brought something to the table. He did a good job. He's memorable. I can't see Nick Fury being anyone else because of how good Samuel L. Jackson does portraying him. But Nick Fury was originally white, and so this is an example of a diversity cast done right. Another example, the recent Little Mermaid. That cast was brilliant because if you listen to any of her singing at all, you would realize that she sounds exactly like the original Ariel. And I feel like that's the real reason they picked her over anybody else for the role, because she sounds like Ariel. And as long as you're getting the general sense of what the character should represent and be, that is okay. And doing it for a reason because they picked that person because they're good at portraying that character, that is what I want. I don't want you to do it just to do it, and I definitely don't want you to do it if the person is definitely not a fit for the role, as in talentless hack, i.e. thank you, Kevin Hart, thank you so much. Not funny at all. Anywho, let's move on to even more points. Casting, casting Ryan Reynolds, yes. Ryan Reynolds is another example of these actors who are just playing themselves, playing the character, and not actually playing the character. I think he's just stuck in his Deadpool era, and he can't stop being Deadpool, and there's 3 Deadpools. There's 4 Deadpools. So have that how you want it. I normally don't think that ethnicity swapping should be allowed, though, and the reason why I think so is because it really opens the door for a double standard. Like, I think that in general, like swapping some character who is portrayed as a certain ethnicity the other way around to a white person would not be a generally good idea. So I feel like they should probably just not do it in general and make the character how they're going to make it, and then pick someone who looks and sounds like that character as best they can. As I said, there are artistic and tasteful examples of the contrary, but for the most part, I feel like doing it at all makes it way too easy to be misconstrued or possibly actually perceived as being racist, and I don't want that. I don't want that to play a role. I think that you should, in terms of casting, always go with who matches what do we want for this character. And if what we want for this character is this, and this actor is who we want for this character, then it's okay. But if fans will come out later and say, hey, they didn't do a good job, they don't represent who I think the character is, then you should listen to that and consider that that may not have been the best choice if people are saying so. Here's another thing. I definitely think that you should listen to the majority of fans, and a lot of the times, instead of listening to the fans, they will make decisions instead that have to do with protecting the executives and the board at all costs and screwing over everyone else. For example, usually executives' decisions consist of making for-profit only decisions. We're only interested in profit. We're not interested in actually making art anymore. Next, firing the artists if they stray too far away from what the board wants. Like, all the executives are saying, hey, this is what we want. But then the director goes, hey, but none of that has anything to do with the IP. We definitely shouldn't do that because it's kind of insulting, right? And then the executives go, oh, yeah, you're fired. We don't like you to, go against what we have to say. And what we have to say is, let's make the most money possible. And let's appeal to fans that don't even care about these series in the first place, because we need to bring in new people and more new money instead of just staying consistent with the art and letting the money flow that way. Attacking fans for backlash, disabling comments on reviewing media platforms to stifle fan reception and silence criticism, weaponizing the reviewing system itself to ensure that critics will write shill reviews instead of, doing what is actually sincere. And even firing staff instead of the executives that are making the poor decisions, and then protecting those same executives is just usually, you'll see that kind of decision making leads to a bad product. And so, yeah. And finally, don't even get me started on retconning. Retconning is like one of the biggest issues in film in general and in artistic media. I can't, off the top of my head, come up with a single retcon that was universally accepted as being the case. And in fact, I could come up with a bunch of examples of how retconning actually ruined the product. Let's think about Naruto Shippuden, and then after that, let's talk about the fan reception for Boruto, and you'll see what I mean. Here's another example. Everybody remembers in A New Hope. Everybody remembers this scene. If you don't remember this scene, you need to go watch the movie again, but not the original cut. No. You have to watch the retconned cut in order to see what we're talking about here. And if you do know, then congrats. You were born before the 2000s. Anywho, so yeah, there's that. What other retcons were just really, really, really bad that I can think of off the top of my head? I hate having to actually... This is why video essays are better, because then I have time to think and actually come up with great examples. I feel like this might not be such a super egregious example, but it is an example. In Food Wars, like, Soma spends his whole time trying to beat his dad, right? And then in the 4th season, when we still haven't accomplished that goal, some other guy just comes along and does it. And you're just like, huh? Like, what? Like, the thing that we've all been waiting for, the thing that we were proposed as the original point of the entire show has now been demolished because some other guy managed to pull it off, and he was supposedly supposed to be completely not defeatable at all. And on top of that, it was just a dude who can do the same thing as one of the earlier characters in the show, but instead of doing it the way he does it, he just does it by touching your knife. Not the best writing decision. Or, the constantly new seasons of The Flash. Like, they had a bunch of retcons in that show. I mean, it felt like they had no idea what had been written 3 seasons ago, and then they ended up doing a lot of stuff because they forgot that stuff already happened a lot of seasons ago. So there's one example. But you get my point, right? Retconning in general, when done at all, is changing the original material. And if the original material is good and not broken, then it doesn't really need to be fixed now, does it? Well, people just want to fix it anyway, because we gotta fix everything always. Everything's broken. Nothing is correct, and we have to change everything in order to, chase some stupid goal that doesn't even matter for the sake of doing it. For the sake of getting some sort of political claps from the people that support your ideals, instead of actually, making art. So yeah, in general, my issues with the film industry are Hollywood executives, bad trailers, and it's a big reason why theaters are failing. The reason theaters are failing is because nobody's in it for the art anymore. Everybody's in it to collect a check or say some sort of radicalized political message, because we absolutely need to have politics in everything, and that's everyone's personality, and it needs to be your personality, because if you're not political and you don't care about agendas or politics at all, and you just want to get in there to have some fun and have a good time and maybe shed a tear or laugh with your friends. No. It has to be 100% political at all times, and it has to generate large amounts of cash flow. And if it doesn't do those two things, then it's crap. So, without further ado, thank you for and continue to make bad movies.